Back to school here in Central Florida, all counties except for Sumter County. Now, it's almost funny, and I don't want to laugh too hard because for some of you, this is miserable. What do I mean by that? I mean it in the most positive sense from a guy that does not have students at home. Letting you know that welcome back to traffic reality. This is not the funnest time. This is pretty kind of miserable when it comes to the backups and the people that truly contribute to a lot of the problems. Because let's be real, it's only about 3-4% of drivers who cause so much of the frustration out there. And we get this little break during the summer when suddenly life gets better for us on the roads. Suddenly, out of nowhere, school ends and surprise, you can make it to work on time. You can do certain things. Go. I'm trying to get this guy to go. You can do certain things and get there on time. Suddenly you don't leave your neighborhood and stuck in a parking lot on a main road. So I wanted to just drive home a lot of that basic stuff we should be paying attention to. Right now I'm outside of an active school here in Seminole County, Highlands Elementary School. And this place is so properly marked. You have signs that warn you, hey, speeding fines are doubled. There are signs that indicate pedestrian crossings. There are signs that let you know when you're in the school zone. And, of course, like that one right here, when you are leaving the school zone. Obviously, you must abide by the speed limits that are posted. And, of course, the speed limit that is posted for the school zone. Fun fact, when we say speeding fines are doubled, meaning a ticket that would cost you $130 will cost you $260 and 4 points on your driver's license. So that's something to pay attention to. Also, what wasn't there? A median, right? We're going to talk about those school buses here in just a second because there's so much frustration taken out on the people that are tasked with their job is solely to make sure our students get to and from school safely. Meaning leaving home, going to school, and then going back home. Our school bus drivers and our crossing guards, they're tasked with this. And yet we give them such difficult time out on the roadway. It's embarrassing. We should be embarrassed as a community when we hear about a crossing guard struck or the amount of tickets being written from a school bus, or the people out there complaining when technology is advancing to catch people speeding around a school bus. That people are complaining. Eustis installed cameras. St. Cloud Police Department in Osceola has recently done that. And people are like, oh, well, this technology and Big Brother, and it's like, get out of here. The fact that we even have to look at this is the problem. So, obviously you want to be aware of pedestrians, and the biggest part here is understanding as the driver, a lot of the times we're dealing with children. So, unpredictable. You as the driver, as the adult operating a car, you really need to be careful. You need to be always alert in the morning and in those mid-afternoons. School bus. Let's dive into this school bus thing. If you're joining us this morning, thanks for joining. It is the Monday back to school here in Central Florida. All counties back to school except for Sumter County. Monday, August 12th today, 10:05. And we're just talking about some basics of what we should be doing out on the road. So this is a big one. I'm going to move over to the left, the center lane here. And we're going to talk about something. So we're here northbound, 1792. And That is what you call a median, right? A grass median. A median barrier. It has a positive median barrier, meaning you can't just drive over that, right? So, if a school bus was traveling in the opposite direction, meaning southbound, like that dump truck or that trash truck is right there, if they were traveling southbound, that school bus decided to make a stop, you would not be required to stop because there is a positive median barrier that is greater than 5 feet. I think it's 5 to 8. 5 feet, it's positive. So when they're traveling, that doesn't mean you just keep flying. You need to make sure you're paying attention, but you would not be required to stop. Now, say we're traveling here with the school bus, right? We say this Tundra in front of us is the school bus. They're activating their yellow flashing lights. This is the time where I'm going to suggest things that supersede the law. Listen, if suddenly you're by a school bus and those lights begin to flash, you should immediately begin to slow your speed. I'm going to say it. Immediately. Why? Because there are kids on that bus. There is some kind of transportation transfer, if I may, that's going to take place. Meaning that school bus is going to slow down, it's going to stop, people are going to get on, people are going to get off, and we have to be really aware of that. It's not a hurry up and fly past the school bus and beat before they turn the red lights on. Think about what you're doing for that school bus. Think about that for a second, right? You are traveling, you're driving out here, you're operating your motor vehicle, and suddenly those lights go on. So the lights go on, the yellow lights go on, you begin to slow down. What are you doing for that school bus driver? You're now creating what I like to call a responsible barrier. The responsible drivers that are up front began to slow down immediately, preparing to stop for when that bus driver engages the red flashing lights. So anybody who's not maybe keen on what they should be doing that's behind the responsible barrier, they are required to stop. We've eliminated any problem. So be that responsible driver, kind of really contributing to that responsible barrier. Man, I like it. We just create terms off the cuff here, and I like that. Okay, now we're going to find another road because I have to give you another example. We'll keep going north here because I have an idea. But same would apply here if it was green, grass, or a concrete. If there's a positive barrier, then you are not required to stop if it's traveling in the opposite direction. If you're traveling with it, obviously, you are required to stop. And then you cannot proceed until those flashing lights and the stop bar has deactivated. Does that make sense? I know it makes sense to me. All right, let's use this intersection as an example here. So, say you're here in the right turning lane. School is back. So you should be wondering, is there a crossing guard in the morning? So yeah, I've got the green, I'm getting ready to go, but if a crossing guard was here, I would be required to stop. Even if I had the green to make the right on green. Why? Because the crossing guard is a traffic control device given the authority to control traffic in a time where the pedestrian would be allowed to cross and hold that traffic until the pedestrian has completed their movements. 90% of them are employed by some police department of some type. Here in Seminole County, the Seminole County Sheriff's Office employs all of the crossing guards in the county to include the ones in the municipalities. So they are taught, they are trained, they have an amazing program. All the men and women over with the crossing guards in Seminole County, one, they're so kind. They really love their job. And they just want to make sure your kids get to school safely. Seriously, if you ever have any questions, reach out to them because what a great group of people that they have. So another example here, we're on a side street. We're headed towards 417. I believe this is Lake Mary Boulevard eastbound. Positive barrier, right? If a bus was coming the other way and came to a stop, you would not be required to stop. What would you be required to use? Due care. That's the big thing. We want to use common sense. We want to use due care in the morning and, of course, in the afternoon. Already this morning, I've seen a lot of people on their phones, and I understand, look, the hustle and bustle of life, y'all, I get it. Man, do I get it. My producer, Brenda, right now at the controls, let me tell you, she gets it. So we are all hustling and bustling nonstop in our lives. But we have to make sure that we stop and we do things in a way that are safe for us. So you're not stressing out too much. Whatever you've got on your plate, that's what you've got. And if you're operating a motor vehicle and you're in an area that is congested with students, that's the only thing that should be on your plate, is operating that motor vehicle safely. Everything else can wait. And I genuinely mean that. Guys, I used to get so stressed out on the road with patrol. The highway patrol, you clock in, we call it taking a 10-8. You open your laptop, you log into the computer, or you get on the radio and say, hey, I'm ready to work. You don't go to the office or anything. We would clock in from our driveways. And I'll never forget, I'd get so frustrated starting a shift and the other shift getting off, and there were like 67 calls holding. 8 of us going into the county. But what did I learn? One crash at a time. One task at a time. You're probably like, Steve, where are you reaching with this? As a person, you can only really dedicate yourself to completing one safe task at a time. And when you're driving your car, that's where your dedication needs to be. And it sounds so cliche, it sounds common sense, but people are dying every single day. This morning, Colonial and Dean, we had a hit and run fatal pedestrian crash. Someone slammed into a pedestrian, left them there to die, and left. We had fatals over the weekend. So when people are like, oh, well, you're really making this into something a big deal. No, I'm not. Proof's in the pudding. I've seen it, I've worked it, and it still happens. So that's why we come out here and try to preach this kind of stuff. For example, I'm doing 45 and a 45 on the nose, and I'm getting passed because people really aren't paying attention. Now, obviously, it's 10:12 in the morning, and school has kind of gone back in, but making sure that our mentality is in a place every day when we hit the road that we are taking the moment to say, yo, things have changed. I need to get back into the swing of things. I need to understand that my commute that took me 20 minutes over the summer may take me 35 minutes now. And those are things that we gotta really pay attention to. So as we make our way north here into Sanford, this is interesting because look, we have a center continuous turn lane, right? So here, that car is flying. So if a school bus was traveling this way, the opposite direction towards us, we're traveling north, so north, and a vehicle, if say the school bus was traveling south and activated their school bus equipment, would you be required to stop here? And the answer to that is yes, because it is not a positive median barrier. It is simply a center continuous lane. So there is no prevention from a vehicle or a student running across the road and you being prepared to stop. And in some cases, those barriers, these center continuous turn lanes end, and you have to be prepared to switch into a 2-lane, 4-lane road. There's obviously no passing, but if a school bus was here as well, you would be required to make a complete stop. You would then wait until said stop was completed of that school bus to make sure that you were good to go. Hope I'm making sense here, guys, because to me, this is pretty common sense. We're here now at Sanford Avenue and 25th Street. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little turned around at the moment and not sure where I'm at. But it's all good. We were able to cover a lot of things. So what did we talk about? We talked about our crossing guards. They are traffic control devices. They are someone who is out there 4 hours a day helping our students cross the road. And I'll even make this a little even better for you. They're crossing the road when, even if they weren't present, a pedestrian would be authorized to do so. So think about that. Next time you're driving and you're in a school zone, watch your crossing guard. They're not doing anything but being extra traffic safety minded, because those are the rules to keep them safe. What are they doing? They're engaging that pedestrian light, and they're only going out when that pedestrian indicator tells them a pedestrian can walk. What are they doing though? They're being that extra traffic control device within said crosswalk to make sure that no one violates the sign. But they're also authorized to hold it so students can continue to cross. Pretty crazy when you think about it. School buses, we talked about making sure you're paying attention even around them, guys. The second those flashing yellow lights come on, you should tell yourself, I need to slow down. That should be a full rule, non-stop, like rule right there. And be what we call, we're going to create a book of Trooper Steve isms, and we're going to call it the responsible barrier. The first ones behind that school bus that do what they're supposed to do so other drivers don't come barreling by. I think that's pretty good stuff, if I don't say so myself. So listen, we're going to do a lot of back to school stuff throughout the rest of this week. We're going to have, unfortunately, she was struck by a vehicle and no longer able to be a crossing guard. But she's going to join us on Wednesday from the city of St. Cloud. We've been focusing a lot on traffic safety in St. Cloud along 192 within that school zone. Thursday, I believe we have a few different things. I'm trying to mixing my days around. And then tomorrow we do have a school resource officer that will be joining us. So back to school is going to be the hype. The last thing we need as a community right now is for us to bring to you a fatal crash involving a student, whether they're pedestrian or they're bicyclist or whatnot. I don't care. I just don't want it to happen, and it's going to take all of us together to make sure it doesn't happen. So share our stuff, educate yourself, become knowledgeable about traffic laws, do the right thing, because most times the hardest thing, the most dangerous thing most of you are going to do in your life is drive. And these kids deserve the right to make sure that they get to and from school safely. And you play a big role in that. So guys, I appreciate you joining me on this 19-minute rant about random school safety, but it's what we do. So please have a safe day. I will see you guys bright and early in the morning. Bye, guys.